Greetings War Thunderers, this is Longshot with you again, with my guide to find the P-26 Peashooter in arcade. As the Peashooter is a reserve plane, I've aimed this video at new players, who've hopefully already looked at my Beginner's Guide series, a link to which you can now see on your screen if you have annotations enabled. Obviously there are 3 Peashooters available. I'll just flick through them now, but they're not all alike. The M2 model has one 50 cal Browning installed along with the 30 cal, whereas the others just have 2 30 cals alone. So because of its weaponry, I'll be concentrating on the M2, though the tactics will apply to all the Peashooter models. The plane has no armour, so I'll look at the internal components. The wing spars are very thin, which will make them hard to hit, but apart from the exposed pilot, the real weakness of this plane is its array of fuel tanks, which present quite a large target. Most Peashooters die from being set alight, and you can see why. The guns are mounted on each side of the engine, firing through the propeller. There's not a lot else to note here, the usual components near the engine, etc. Basically, as in many planes, your survival in the Peashooter will depend on how well you can avoid getting hit. And to look at that, let's go to a test flight, where I'll put it through its paces. The purpose of this test is to get a basic idea of the plane's capabilities and limitations, from which I can decide how I'll look to use it in battle. To start with, I'll bank the plane and turn using elevators only. I'm looking to see how quickly it turns, and my rule of thumb is that if it catches the end of its smoke trail and overlaps it, which it does, then it's probably a decent dogfighter. I'm also looking at how well it retains its speed, which was at 315 km an hour IAS when I began the turn, but is now at only 270 km an hour and falling. And as it falls, it's now only just catching the end of its smoke trail, which tells me it's losing its turning ability. So using elevator alone, this does not turn as well as the reserve biplanes from other nations. Next I'll apply elevator and left rudder together and tap the roll key to keep the plane straight in order to perform a climbing spiral, using throttle boost to maximise my speed. Now the plane climbed quite sharply, showing that the rudder is a bit weaker than the elevator. At low speed it has enough engine power to continue turning and climbing, which many reserve planes cannot do. So this is a manoeuvre it can use both to get out of trouble and to set up reversals. Next, how does it handle at high speed? I'll put it into a dive and use the ailerons to roll the plane. Its roll speed's quite high, but past 300 km an hour it starts to stiffen up, and by 400 km an hour its roll speed is pretty slow, though the rudder remains quite responsive. It won't go much faster than 500 km an hour, so I'll pull up out of the dive and climb vertically to see how well it retains its energy and how much altitude it can recover. This isn't something I suggest doing in a battle, as it'll likely get you shot down. It's only to see what the plane's capable of. By the time I hit 2,000 metres it's quite slow and I have to level the plane, so it's only managed 1,000 metres in that zoom climb, which is pretty poor, but it's what I'd expect from a reserve plane. Nevertheless, I will be looking to use energy fighting tactics in this plane, and I'll avoid turn fighting with it as much as possible. And if you're not sure what I mean by energy fighting, I'll explain as I go along, because it's now time to take it to battle. This is one of the 2 biplane maps, both of which are ground strike, and they're characterised by short, intense and chaotic furballs. How you play these battles will often determine the type of player you are in later tiers. If you obsess over winning the battle, you'll go for ground targets, as basically this is a race to kill them as quickly as possible. But in doing that you won't learn anything about air-to-air combat, and you'll be well on the way to becoming a specialist bomber pilot. There is a lot, however, you can learn here about flying a fighter. The most important skills are your situational awareness, by which you keep track of everything happening around you, and your ability to survive without losing your plane. After these comes the tactics needed to kill planes quickly and efficiently, without giving them a chance to fight back. Here I've flown to the side of the battle and climbed to about 1,500 metres, which gives me the altitude I need to dive on targets below at high speed. And who are my targets? The people who are going after the objectives by farming ground units. And as I dive I use the C key to look around, and then I pick out a target to intercept. Once I'm past him, whether I've shot him down or not, I'm continuing on, and I switch to a BF-110, aiming ahead of the lead indicator and landing a steady stream of bullets on him from an angle, which is known as a deflection shot. Next I'll turn gradually while boosting the throttle to keep my speed high, which brings me out behind him at close range for another accurate volley. As I do so, the Ki-27 I fired at earlier crashes, giving me my first kill. After landing some more shots, he turns back towards his side of the battle, and I fly out to the back of my lines to climb and reset for the next attacking pass. And for me, combat will follow this same basic pattern. I look for targets, engage, keep my speed high, and then exit and climb, while looking around to identify new targets or threats. I don't stay fixated on one target for long, as that will give me tunnel vision and get me shot down. Neither do I try and follow a plane in a sharp turn, as that would kill my speed, which is the only advantage I have over biplanes. Note how I was checking that higher I-15 there and flying away from it. I don't want him diving on me and catching me unawares. Okay, the BF-1 turns back just as I'm looking to start another attack run. So I drop in and hit him with another accurate volley at close range. This time he doesn't survive. I turn away from the battle in order to look around. I see an enemy Peashooter nearby and loop over to get position to attack him. And as I do so, I see another Peashooters pick me out. So I boost my engine to fly past him and go into the climbing spiral I showed earlier, while looking to see where he is. He's given up on me and flown away. Now I can dive and attack the planes below me. By spending only a few brief seconds in combat and then looking around, I was able to avoid coming under attack just then. And by spiral climbing, I put energy in the bank, which I'm now using for another high-speed pass, which this time is not successful as the targets just didn't line up for me. I'm not going to stress that. I'll just pull out again to the edge of the battle, loop over, and then I can attack once more. Just performing long, straight, high-speed runs through the battlefield. I'm looking for snapshots at targets without having to turn too sharply, because turning horizontally slows you down. This basic low-altitude strategy can be used with many other Tier 1 props such as Buffaloes, Hurricanes, Ki-43s, Ishaks and Lag-3s, none of which can turn as well as a biplane, but all of which can use their speed as an advantage to reach targets quickly and stay out of trouble. Remember also to keep a close eye on the minimap. You don't want to climb like this and loop if there's a red dot bearing down on you. Right, there's a choice of targets here. I'll take the closest, which is this Nimrod. I'm faster than him, so to avoid overshooting or ramming, I pull up into a brief climb, known as a high yo-yo, then I can dive again to attack without any loss of speed. You can see how hard it is to land shots on a target from directly behind. That's why I always prefer deflection shots rather than sitting on someone's tail. My attacking pass is done. There's 4 enemies behind me, but also one in front that I'll need to engage. Okay, now they're all behind me, and I'm safe to loop over. And I spot an I-15 heading straight towards me at the left, and head-ons aren't something you should engage in with this plane. Now I do squeeze a very brief burst at him using zoom, which sets him alight, and then snap roll out of the way before he can do the same to me. I don't give him another thought. Instead I continue on looking for another target. Most of them are flying away from me. It's hard to get within 400 meters range, so I'm not going to waste bullets on them. Nor am I going to turn and chase any of these planes. I set a target on fire here. Nice deflection shot again. And then see tracer flashing past, so I pull up into a climbing spiral which causes the enemy planes to overshoot. And I can use that altitude then to loop over, dive and attack. And with that the battle will end with 5 kills in the bag, and my plane still in one piece. And while my team didn't win, I used my plane in the role it was designed to perform, air-to-air combat. And I dare say I enjoyed myself a lot more than the players who burned through their lineup while strafing defenceless ground targets. Occasionally you'll see larger maps, such as Clifton Coast here, where everything's far more spread out. This gives you the opportunity to engage opponents in proper dogfights, rather than being restricted to the high-speed pass strategy I used in the crowded biplane battle. Though you still have to practice your situational awareness to avoid being bounced. It's much easier for planes to become isolated in these battles, and that can work both for you and against you. Anyway, I've dived on this Buffalo, who has indeed become isolated. He's going for ground targets, and that's just a very simple boom and zoom deflection shot, and then I'm looping over to follow him. So far he's taken no interest in me whatsoever. He's purely going for the tanks, but that will soon change. But not before I've got a nice shot at him on his 6, and now he suddenly takes notice and realizes he's under attack. And he's trying to evade with a simple horizontal turn. There he goes, whereas I have looped up and over, which lets me drop on him from above with a perfect deflection shot at his full profile. He's continuing with his turn, I continue with another loop. Again another shot at his full profile, but now I'm losing speed. And so I drop down into a low yo-yo underneath, which brings me up underneath him at very close range, and I can finish him off. And in doing those loops and the low yo-yo turn, I managed to keep my speed nice and high. So even though I was turning sharply, I never got slow. Unlike what he was doing, which was turning around in horizontal circles, which really slowed him down. Anyway, I've climbed back to some altitude, and I see a bit of melee going on down here. Now there's only 2 biplanes from the enemy team, quite a few blues, so it should be safe. The main danger for me is from my friends. I've dived in on that guy. I'm not trying to turn with him. That's just a simple boom and zoom past. Intercepted, hit him at an angle, then climbed up and looped over, ready for another intercept pass. Again, hitting him at a deflection angle. Looping up and over again. And what this is doing is it's keeping me away from the blue fighters who are trying to sit on his tail. As I said earlier, it's harder to shoot planes down if you're right on their 6. It also exposes you to friendly fire and exposes you to being rammed by other blue planes. Whereas when I'm approaching at different angles to everyone else like this, I'm getting nice clear shots at the full profile of the enemy plane, which is more likely to get me the kill, and it's keeping me out of their guns and out of their flight paths. So I'm much less likely to die due to ram or due to friendly bullets. And that same approach can be used for many other planes. Certainly it works extremely well with 109s and Spitfires. Anyway, I'm flying away from the battle now because I see a whole stack of enemies coming in. I don't want to be caught out. And as I move back to reset, I spot a PBY. Now this isn't a plane you generally want to tangle with in a reserve plane, simply because it's loaded with gunners with 50 cal machine guns, and they can really make a mess of you in a hurry. You do not want to sit on the tail of one of those for very long. Okay, now I've pulled back out and reset, and I see a Peashooter coming straight at me for a head-on. Quick zoom snapshot, and then into a snap roll. He's got no hope of hitting me as I do that manoeuvre. And then a loop up and over in case he turns back at me, which he does. Don't quite hit him with the deflection shutter from above. And at that point I should probably have gone into a lower, fast, gentle turn, because as I've looped up and over, he's been able to just run away from me. There was also, I was a bit worried about 2 PBYs that were hanging around. There's one of them that was flying off to the right. They can just troll around acting as gunships, and you do have to be careful of them when you're flying these reserve planes. Now I'm tracking this guy. He's flying around the cliff. I want to intercept him as he pokes his head above it, which he's about to do right here. And this is the perfect kind of deflection shot from behind, so I can get a nice long steady stream of bullets aimed at him using zoom. And you get the best kind of hit detection from that slight angle rather than from directly behind. But sometimes in these games you will of course be picked out by a more powerful plane, as I'm in this situation. A Hurricane's chosen me. He's closing very fast. So what am I going to do? If I try and start turning here, he'll pick me off easily. So I'm not going to present him a big target. I'm going to start diving and just making very slight movements. This gets him away from the main battle area, so he's isolated. And then I know he's nice and close. I'm going to pull up into the climbing spiral. Now note, he cannot follow me in it. He's very quickly overshooting because his plane's so much faster than mine. Now I've got a second Peashooter to worry about, so I pull out of the climbing spiral. Hurricane, in his effort to try and turn with me in that manoeuvre, has overshot well and truly. In fact, he's stalled himself out. So now I have a full-on reversal on my hands, and I can light him up as he comes out of that climb. And that's why the climbing spiral is such an effective manoeuvre in this plane. Not only can it shake off biplanes, it can also shake off more powerful enemies who can't turn with you and who will overshoot if they try to follow you. And yes, I was a bit cheeky with a bit of a victory roll there as I chased down the P-26. Anyway, I'll take this opportunity to summarise. Peashooter is a fun little plane that can teach you all the basic concepts of energy fighting. And here's my thoughts on the tactics you should practice when flying it. I'll finish the video with a battle in which my squadron flew Peashooters. Well, except for Agent of Change, who accidentally spawned in a Buffalo instead. This is purely to show how enjoyable the plane can be, even for more experienced players. It's not simply a plane for newbies to fly for a day or two and then discard. Also, I pulled off a really nice reversal against a BF-109 in this game, which I was pretty proud of. And watch for a climbing spiral move on a KI-10 at the end of the battle. Also watch for Jake going on a giant killing run at the start of the battle, knocking over 3 BF-110s in rapid succession. As you can see, I've overlaid footage from my plane in the main view, Agent of Change in the upper left, and SCCO Jake in the upper right, so there's plenty to look at. Hope you enjoy it.
It's got the same armament as a P-26.
It just happens to be
It does not have the same flight characteristics.
Just look behind you and see where we are and see where you are.
Alright, so I failed. I fail at this game.
Swordfish, group up in formation. Oh my god, are there more than one of them?
Yep.
P-45 coming up at us real fast.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like helicopter.
Yep. Yep.
He's gone.
Good shot.
He's on fire. Another 110 inbound.
Oh, he came at me. Silly goose. P-45 or 110?
Duke Lansky, just take a shot at me.
He's on
That
fire.
was weird.
He's dead.
Another 110
yeah,
way down there.
So...
Alright, 110 killer. Here we go. Going for him.
Control locked up. Rammed the 110.
Oops.
Okay, you should have been in the Peashooter all along.
Yeah, that's what I get. I didn't do anything in the F2A, so we'll just call this a late start.
Ah! 3 110s. No damage to myself.
Jake, you got a Fury behind you. I'm coming
Jake, I
up.
want to see your footage.
You are welcome to it. Ow. Ow.
Okay, let's make this a good game.
I hit him a lot. Not sure
Oh,
he's
no, I'm
not
fire.
dead.
Well, it was good while it lasted.
That's fine. Let's just keep going.
Fire can go out. Fire can go out.
Alright, CR-42.
Fire doesn't
I'll
want to
switch
go
to
out.
AG.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, the fire went
Hurricane.
out. My engine's dead, but my fire went out.
Oh, that's probably why your engine went out. No more fuel in there.
Yeah. Well, no, it's still got a. It's leak and it still has time. So.
I lost my right wing tip.
Please burn out before the
I can
36
still
steals
fight.
you.
I can still fight. Oh my goodness.
Nice.
Alright, I'm determined I'm not going to help clear anybody's tail anymore. I've paid the price for it twice. You're on your own.
Nice soft landing.
What's going on?
I don't think that should credit a kill. Just
Listen,
because my engine died and I was forced to put down no man's land.
We can run back and get another plane.
Get on it.
Where are you guys?
Dead.
I'm near you. I'm
In
above
the-
you.
Plenty of
Captured.
targets where I am, Epic, so... Want to come and join me?
You betcha.
sure. I'm getting assists this game.
Serves you right.
Just
You know,
never.
don't be
I would-
bitter.
I
Not
wouldn't
better.
wish assists on my enemies. Oh, come on. Yes, finally set somebody on fire.
I think it was me.
Well, so, oh yeah, it was you. Fudge. Don't worry, I was only working on that guy for a minute.
I'm sorry, I saw a furball. And I dove in and I picked a red.
At least-
I'm sorry
at least
I picked
you're-
your red.
At least you're not like the blue shirts where they only flock to the fire.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, fire. That'll be easy. I'm just gonna pull out of that and reload.
Mind.
Size 16 behind me. Everyone can assist.
Alright.
There we are.
Nice.
I see him.
Trying to take him up and slow him down for you guys.
Practicing those long-range shooting skills. There we go. Hit, 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 hit. Got him. He's on fire. He's gonna
there he
burn.
is.
Beautiful.
Yeah, let him burn. Alright. Now, while I'm up here,
I miss having planes that can
long
do
shot
work.
T10 coming right in behind you.
I'm dragging an HE-112 up if anybody wants an easy kill.
And I'm reloading.
Come on.
Oh man, I'm doing perfect dragging bags up here. I cannot get shots to kill people.
Come on.
T10, I think.
I think I hit you there.
Wow.
Aww.
Look at this little guy. It's with this dude.
Well, that's all I have for you in this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until the next one, good hunting, and I'll see you in the skies.